welcome to the first installment of the Debate Fundamentals. Today, we'll be going over all the basic things you should probably know about public forum debate if you want to compete in the event, including answering your questions on what it is, what a round looks like, and how you can keep up with the activity on your own. So, let's start at the top. Speech and debate is a set of extracurricular, competitive public speaking events across the country. All of these events are run by the National Speech and Debate Association, or as you'll know them, the NSDA. You can find all the rules about every event if you just go to the NSDA's website at speechanddebate.org and then go to their resources tab to where manuals exist for both middle and high school. Among the debate events, 3 are held in the highest regard: policy debate, Lincoln Douglas, and public forum. In all 3, opposing teams represent opposing affirmative and negative positions on a resolution or a claim made about the world. This is what's debated in each round. As the newest addition to the trio, public forum debate, or PF, focuses on debates that the normal public would have. Instead of each team of 2 proposing their own plan like what we see in policy, or individually having these philosophical discussions in Lincoln Douglas, public forum hones in on one specific legislation at a time, asking if the world would be better with or without passing it into law. For example, a PF topic would take the phrasing of resolved, the United States federal government should implement a single-payer health care system. A government actor is specified with a single, clear piece of legislation that we could debate over, nothing wordy with lists of stipulations and exceptions. Sometimes, PF resolutions can even take the form of historical questions, such as the 2018 NSDA National Tournament Resolution, which asked debaters to evaluate the pros and cons of American participation in NAFTA, or the North American Free Trade Agreement, which was a trade agreement intended to help North American countries in the 1990s. While there may be debates around what the wording of a resolution entails, they are intended to be read directly and consistent with how a normal person would read them. So, if you're ever confused about what a resolution might be saying, you may want to try asking a friend or family member to take a look. For the purposes of arguments, we can also assume that resolutions happen by fiat, or that they overwhelm all potential political barriers that are implemented firmly into law. In the real world, political forces create legislation from compromises and fill them with unique clauses that have various impacts. However, fiat assumes that the resolution, and the resolution alone, automatically passes through all phases of government and is cemented into law. We can also assume that fiat is long-term, that political forces cannot intervene at some point in the future and undo or limit the resolution. Instead, we take the most straightforward, common understanding of the resolution and assume as little as we can. So, where can you find these? Public forum resolutions are released by the NSDA on a scheduled manner. They release one topic at a time to be debated at tournaments across the country. The first 2 PF topics every year cover 2 months each. The first being in September and October, or the Septober topic, and the second being in November and December, or the Nocember topic. The following resolutions cover 1 month each from January to April. The NSDA releases each topic on the first of the previous month, meaning you'll get the Septober topic on August 1st, the January topic December 1st, and the April topic March 1st. The NSDA will also release all potential topics, or topics that are going to be publicly voted on by students and coaches throughout the year to determine each month's topic. All potential topics for a year are released in June following the NSDA's tournament. If you go to the competition tab and click topics, you can scroll down and see all current and upcoming resolutions for each debate event, including the voting outcomes for each topic. Potential topics can be found at the bottom of the page, where you'll also find resources for much of what we've covered, including a library of older resolutions. There are some exceptional topics reserved for specific tournaments, such as the NSDA's national tournament in June. But fun fact, you can actually help create future topics. If you go to that same competition tab from earlier and click Topic Creation Hub, you'll find a new page that explains this process. So if you have a fun idea and some free time, do your research and submit a proposal. They'll probably be taking a look. We've talked a lot about resolutions, but remember that you'll be arguing these topics in front of judges. Public forum judges are usually parents, coaches, and former debaters who volunteer at tournaments to help make our activity possible. But because judges understand that they're going to vary in their technical expertise, judges will usually have paradigms or summaries of their expectations and histories in debate so you know how to adapt for that round. For example, a parent who is new to debate might explain that they're not familiar with the rules and might need you to help guide the round, while a coach might give you specific preferences to adapt to. More advanced paradigms might include jargon or debate phrases and words that you may not be familiar with. Don't be afraid to ask your judges or people that you meet at tournaments what these mean. Your judges especially want you to understand their paradigm. Either way, pay attention to what your judges say. These paradigms are the building blocks of how you're going to approach every round. Tournaments will do what they can to make paradigms available to you, and you'll have clear ways to ask where to find them. However, to do it on your own, there are two additional methods to find judge paradigms. First, if your tournament is using tabroom.com, which if you haven't seen this, it's just a website where some tournaments are run, you can actually search for any judge's paradigm by name. Just go to the Paradigms tab and insert their first and last names separately. If your tournament for some reason just isn't using Tabroom, you can still try seeing if they've created a judging profile on Tabroom's system from a previous or upcoming tournament. But if all else fails, the second way you can figure out your judge preferences are by just talking to them. Just like with jargon in existing paradigms, most judges are open to communicating with you and would prefer that you debate to their expectations. So if you have a question about your judge's debate preferences, just ask it. But make sure that all the debaters have entered the round before, so the judge is speaking to everyone who might need to hear their answer. Once you have a judge assigned and you're heading to round, you should understand the three main phases of a debate round. There's before the round, there's the round itself, and there's that final post-round moment between you, your competitors, and the judge. So let's begin with what happens before the debating starts. When you see your judge or opponents, be sure to greet them and be cordial. This seems minimal, but offer to even write your team's codes or the resolutions if there's a board available for the judge, and try to organize the room if it doesn't seem conducive to a debate round. And once everyone has arrived, just ask the judge any paradigm questions that you might have had before. But the most important pre-round event is a potential coin flip. In public forum debate, the teams are given one speech at a time, so either the affirmative or negative team can go first. Some tournaments will automatically assign sides to debate teams, but usually there will be a coin flip before round to determine speaking order and side positions. The team who wins the coin flip can select to either speak first or second, or choose to go af or neg. When they select from one of the options, the other team can choose from the other. If the same teams debate multiple times in one tournament, they'll usually switch the order and side from the previous round for the second. Coin flips can happen in person, but some tournaments will just run them on Tabroom or another online program, so be sure to stay updated on your tournament's rules and websites. But now to the meat and potatoes of it all, the actual round structure. Public forum is a simple event. Both sides are given 4 speeches, 2 for each of their 2 debaters. There are also 3 crosses in between the speeches, where debaters from each side ask each other questions and directly contest one another's points. The first speech is 4 minutes and called constructive, or the case. This is given by each team's first speaker and gives the main arguments or contentions for why the judge should affirm or negate. Constructives are followed up by first cross, with 3 minutes given for the first speakers to question each other. The second speech is also 4 minutes and called rebuttal. It's given by the second speakers. While first rebuttal will directly refute the case given by the opposing team, second rebuttal will be able to both defend their case or front line and respond to their opponent's case given that they're going after the other team. This is followed up by second cross, another 3 minutes for the second speakers now to question each other. Debaters also usually stand for first and second cross, meeting each other in the center of the room. However, debaters do not look at each other, but maintain eye contact with the judges. They can also bring any materials that they want to the center with them. Things start developing with the summary speeches, where first speakers get 3 minutes to start crystallizing the round. Their main responsibilities are to defend and extend, or quickly re-explain, their best arguments and responses to their opponent's arguments. With the time shrinking down, summary is where the round starts to get strategic, requiring teams to collapse or pick the most important arguments to go for as the round advances. This is followed up by grand cross, where all 4 debaters can participate in questioning each other. However, with everyone involved, you can stay comfortably seated heading into the last speeches. Final focus gives the second speakers 2 minutes to make their last argument. Their responsibilities to extend, frontline, and refute that are in summary are also in final focus. However, also make it explicit to the judge where you want them to vote and why. Don't leave the decision up to interpretation, but make your case clear. Each team also generally has 3 minutes of prep time that they can use at any time throughout the round to think things over, prepare speeches, and read over evidence they've requested to see from their opponent. Once the round is over, be sure to shake hands with your opponents and exchange a nice old good round. Thank the judges, and if you're debating in person, make sure to clean up the room so it's not messy for the next people. Judges will sometimes disclose who they voted for and their reason for decision, or RFD, after the round is over, usually depending on tournament rules. If they do, be respectful regardless of the outcome. Do not argue against the decision or use an aggressive tone, but after asking if they're okay with it, you can ask any helpful clarification or next step questions. But be sure not to keep the tournament waiting, they're usually waiting for your judge to get back. Alongside deciding a winner, judges will also score debaters on a speaker point scale, generally from 20 to 30. Debaters range normally from 27 to 29, with exceptional performances going above or below that range. How precise a decimal point debaters are ranked comes down to tournament rules, but you can usually expect whole or half number increments. Speaker points are meant to give judges a way to rank debaters on their performance alongside deciding a winner to the debate. Essentially, who are the best speakers in the round? But why do speaker points actually matter? Well, first, there are speaker awards, and they're pretty cool to win. But more importantly, speaker points are used to determine elimination round seeding. You see, almost every tournament can be broken up into 2 parts. The preliminary rounds, or prelims, and elimination rounds, which are typically called either elims or out rounds. Some league tournaments, round robins, and invitationals around the country might run on a different system, but we'll cover this standard format here. During elims, all teams are scheduled to debate the same number of rounds, usually 6. While teams are always randomly matched for the first couple, tournaments may power match later prelims. Power matching is when tournaments pair teams with the same amount of wins and losses against each other. For example, if a tournament has, say, 6 prelims, the first 2 rounds are often composed of a random set of pairings of all the teams. However, tournaments may decide to match 2-0s against 2-0s, 1-1s against 1-1s, and 0-2s against 0-2s after the first couple rounds. And after 4 rounds, they can rematch the 4-0s together, 3-1s, 2-2s, and so on. Once prelims end, a certain number of teams will break or advance into elimination rounds based on their number of wins. If there are 6 prelims, the 6-0s and 5-1s will normally automatically break. But for the 4-2s is where things get interesting. Because elimination rounds are run on a bracket system, meaning teams are paired up mirroring the opposite seeded team, so the top 6-0 hits the bottom 4-2, the number of available slots in a certain bracket may not match the amount of teams who have won a certain number of rounds. Speaker points matter because they are how tournaments rank teams that have the same number of wins. So the top 6-0 would be the undefeated team with the best speaker points. Because of this, speaker points are only used in prelims, while elims just come down to a winner and loser. Let's say that 6 prelim tournament wants to break to double octo finals, where there are going to be 32 available out-round slots. But if there are more than 32 6-0s, 5-1s, and 4-2s combined, the tournament needs a way to decide which 4-2s break and which don't. Here, there are 2 options. First, they can do a hard break, where they cut off 4-2s based on their speaker points. In this case, speaker points really matter, because they're just straight up determining whether or not you break as a 4-2. But second, tournaments can conduct a runoff, where they give higher win teams a bye or an automatic win, and conduct enough debates between the 4-2s with the lowest speaker points to reach the number of teams they need. So, going back to our example, if we need 32 teams, but have, say, 2 6-0s, 13 5-1s, but 28 4-2s, don't hold our math perfectly here, but a runoff would have to make the 22 lowest speaker point ranked 4-2s debate each other, eliminating 11 teams while giving every other team a bye. This should leave us with 32 teams that as a tournament we can make into a double octo finals bracket. So, with that, the bracket's then debated until there's a winner. Out rounds will normally have 3 judges each, with semifinals and finals occasionally having more, but it's always going to be an odd number, of course. Sometimes teams will co-champion the final round or agree to 2 winning teams if a tournament is going very late. So, in this video, we've covered some of the basics about public forum debate, including how to keep up with new topics, what debate rounds and tournaments look like, and some introduction to your judges and the NSDA. In the next video, we'll go into the debate round itself to understand what exactly arguments are, how to make them, and the arguments that you'll need to know for debate.